This week we are starting with LangChain, one of the, I would say, foundational libraries or frameworks that were created where at not at the beginning, but in very initial phase of GenAI, when OpenAI was becoming popular, and other models are also coming up. For everything, people were using the base SDKs. Pretty much everything they had to uh, write one by one, like we wrote all our code till now, right? So for setup, you are writing to just load your environment. From there on, you have to specify model, your prompt within different kind of persona system, or user, etc., etc., right? And then you have, for parsing as well, we were writing different functions, then converting into JSON different functions, all those things, right? LangChain was introduced just like any other library within Python or any other language that has already pre-written functions for all those tasks, and you could just invoke those just by one or two lines, and that would do the same work that for which you have to specifically write a lot of code till now, right? So let's start with it. Okay, so what is LangChain? All right, LangChain is a Python framework. I don't know how many of you have worked with Django. Anyone of you know about Django?
No, sir.
Okay.
No.
Uh, okay, no worries. So let's look at any of those libraries that we have been using, right? Say the basic one, OpenAI, we were using till now, where you do, import from OpenAI, and then within it, you create your client, etc. So OpenAI, you can consider it, you know, a pre-written library for you, within which you have all those functions already created through which you can write a prompt, load your environment, as well as get your connection established with OpenAI, send them API request, and then get their output. And then there are functions for you to parse that output. Okay. So similarly, LangChain also has it, but LangChain does it or takes it one step above it. So instead of you have to call all those things within OpenAI, uh, LangChain has identified, okay, these are the inputs that people would usually put. Rest of the code remains same. So they wrote functions for it. Okay, so that's how we use LangChain, but only for AI application. All right, it gives you a ready-made. You can consider them building blocks. There are three building blocks that we are going to talk about. Right, it gives you pretty much written functions for it, which you can just call and use those features. Okay, so what are those uh, building blocks that we are talking about? Okay, so there are three basically. One is prompt. Okay, uh, second one is your chains. We create different chains. We use reusable prompts through templates, and then within messaging we have memory options as well, for which if you would have created the project, you would have seen that how we were making your model remember things. We had a different persona, right? We had a system prompt, we had a user prompt, and what was the third one that remembers everything?
Assistant.
Who's going to
Yes.
name it?
Assistant.
Assistant, right? So what is,
Assistant.
Yes.
if you mark it as true, what happens then? You are going to send the previous prompt as well, right, as your input to the OpenAI, so that it remembers. You can call it remembers, but basically you are going to send it history as well with that.
Mm,
So similar, that option is also there in LangChain. Okay. Uh, Now one thing, right? Why do we actually need it? We have pretty much everything available with OpenAI SDK, right? And we were using OpenAI SDK for the whole month, right? And we were able to build pretty much everything. So basically, there's nothing wrong with the OpenAI SDK at all, right? But if you are just making a single API call, right, making different functions, keep calling them, and also, so on and so forth, is okay. But let me ask you this: how many lines of code uh, did it took for us to build that chatbot in week 4? Hundreds,
yes. Yeah.
right? And that was just one model, one feature at a time. Now, just imagine if you need to take user input, put it into a prompt template, obviously provide system message, then send it to LLM, parse the response into something structured like JSON, and then handle errors within JSON, right? With raw SDK, every time you have to write that code, all right? Even if you write reusable functions within that as well, you'll have to keep changing your parameters, okay? And then everything you'll be writing manually, okay? But with LangChain, you get everything as a wrapper, and you just need to know which function to call, and you would be able to do all those things in one go. Okay, I'll just show you one example. Okay, let me just reshare my screen once. Okay, let me know if you're able to see it.
Yes.
Okay, so similar to the one that we had in our problem statement, let's take a very simple problem statement. So this is about, again, the customer reviews that we receive. A customer sends you a messy message like, "Hi, I'm Rahul from Mumbai. I ordered 3 paneer pizzas. Total was blah blah blah." Now what we have to get is some structured data and only the important bits from it: customer name, their location, amount, and the order ID. All right. So if we go by the OpenAI SDK method that we have been using for the whole month, all right. So leaving the setup part aside, we'll still have to do a call to OpenAI. We have to create a client for it. All right. Then you have to define your system prompt. Then you are going to make the API call and one by one put everything in it. All right. Then for the extraction, we'll be asking for raw output. All right. Then getting into some format that makes it meaningful. All right. Which is a long list of code lines. Okay. But if we do it with LangChain, right? So this is all just, set apart. So leaving aside, this is how we can do it with LangChain. All right. You define your prompt, okay, within which you give your persona, is it system or human? Then when you call model, right, you can call it just by naming the model, and it also provides default values for temperature. Parser is, again, it is going to get your output from OpenAI and give you option to parse it. Okay. Then you don't have to, keep writing more lines to explain it how to run it. You're just going to give it in a flow. I don't know how many of you have worked with Linux before, But in Linux as well, if you write your commands, you just distinguish them with pipe symbol, and from left to right, this is the command flow. Here you can consider it to be your data or command flow as well. In chain, if you write on the left, it is going to fetch your prompts first, then it is going to take your model, then it is going to execute your parser part. Okay, and this is your chain. This is how your workflow would be. Just by these two lines, you would be able to do everything that you did from here up till here. Okay, so chain you have to create, and then you have to invoke that chain. So that's what chain.invoke does. Okay, so this was just to see initially. Obviously, we are going to create some and discuss more on it. But if you can relate with it, right? How comparatively easier it is for us to work with LangChain if you are using any LLMs compared to the OpenAI SDK that we have been working with since so long. Okay. Okay. So just simple things. Without a framework like LangChain, you have to every API call would be a boilerplate code, and with LangChain you get your prompt templates. Okay. Changing models, you have to rewrite at least the call part of it. Okay. With LangChain, you can swap models, just change the model name, right? Internal functions have already been written. It would know what functions to use or some what model to use. For if you want structured output, you have to manually parse it, right? With LangChain, it also already provides us with output parsers that we can validate our output with. Okay. If you have to define a workflow, right, you have to go with nested functions so that it knows, how the flow would be. Here with pipe operators going from left to right, pretty much like in English, it's very easy for us to then, remember how to move. Okay. Then memory for OpenAI SDK, as we discussed, we use a different persona called assistant that is able to give it history. All right. It also had different built-in memory types within LangChain that you can use while making the first call itself. So that is also taken care of. Okay. So the building blocks that we were talking about. Okay. Models, the actual LLM that we are going to talk to. And again, this is all replaceable code. You just have to update your parameter of which model you are going to use. Okay. Prompt, you have your prompt templates options there. You just have to, just like a key and value within a dictionary, you are going to give it your reusable prompts, okay, with your keys, and then define those with some values. It will keep on using depending on, what kind of changes you want to make to your prompts. Output parsers, the standard str output parsers provides us. And then we have option for pydantic. This we are going to discuss in next class. This is a very important topic. Do not miss it. Okay. So they also provide us a validated structured output. And the last one is again what we discussed, chain, that gives you what steps to follow. All right. And those are the steps through which you can define a complete workflow of how you're going to interact with the LLM. Okay. So with that, we discussed why we need it. Okay. We discussed the important building blocks. So lastly, because this is what we are going to use now, right? Pipe operator. So I've put it, but it's very intuitive and easy to understand if you just use it once. always run from left to right. Whatever is there in the left, okay, that is your basically your execution cycle. Okay, so you define start with prompt. It is going to take you prompt templates. If there are any variables to insert, it is going to insert those variables into the template. Then it is going to move left from left to right. Then it's going to choose the model that you have defined in your parameter. Okay, that will make the call to the LLM. Okay, once that call is made, you will get some output. All right, so that output you are going to use in this class. We are going to use str output parser, and with which we are going to extract clean text. Okay, so just remember, from left to right you're going to move, and when you invoke the chain, you just have to define your variable. So when you define your template within which you are going to give your keys, okay, but when you invoke, you have to give your value as well. So your key in this prompt would be topic. Okay, and so it would be, the prompt would be something like this: explain, give me the recipe of, and then topic. Okay, while you're invoking, you put dosa, so that prompt would become give me the recipe of dosa. While invoking, you can give multiple options as well, and you can, loop through them, parse one by one, depends on, how you want to work with it. But it is always going to work from left to right. Okay, that is how chains work. Lastly, we know now, we have it, but when to use what? It's not that raw SDK is not useful at all. When you're going to make, very simple agent where just one call and you want to summarize something, you don't need to use LangChain there. A simple API call would work there. Okay, uh, from your POCs, prototyping, to something that where you want to have, you know pretty much, say, every control within your hand, right? Because in the interim, LangChain is also doing the same things for you that we have been doing for the past month, right? If you want all those things still accessible to you, and want to write all those code snippets, you can still keep using OpenAI SDK, right? But when you're building a large application, right, through different agents, then LangChain becomes, the right step to move forward or move towards. It is going to chain multiple steps for you. The output, structured output, and the options that it provides with it are very powerful. Okay, building memory into conversation. So again, the memory is, as we discussed in the past as well, is just giving the history with the current prompt. So there are some options also that it provides with it, right? Maybe you want, see, if you have a very long context, most of the time what we are going to do is we are going to trim the top part of it. So if you get 100 lines, you define your context window to be, say, 50 lines. In the next call, when you will give the history, how you will define it, the first 50 lines will be trimmed, right? Or popped out, as what we wrote in our examples as well. But as much as possible, we should keep, or you know the history in a way that at least the important parts of it are should remain in the call that we are making. So what we can do is, instead of removing some part, we can summarize most of it so that it will become smaller, hence not exceeding your context window. All right. With that, it also gives us tools to connect with different artifacts or different agents. Okay. So LangChain is very powerful. It provides you a lot of things. That doesn't mean that raw SDK is not, but it's just that there you have to write a lot more code for which functions are already created here, which you can invoke and start using them. Okay. So today's plan: install LangChain. I'll anyways provide you with all the code, so you can just run it and installation everything. Mine would be in comments. You have to just uncomment it. Okay. We'll build our first chain today, and then we'll see how prompt template and message placeholder with chat history works. Okay. All right. So we'll come to the live demo. Just give me 1 minute, and I'll share the screen again. Let me know once my screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So this is our first chain that we are going to build. All right. For setup, because I already have these things installed, I'll just copy paste it for you guys so that you can also install it. If you already have it, you can ignore this step. Okay. All right. Now we'll start with the actual setup. So some libraries that we have already worked with. Okay. Now our building blocks. I hope you guys are following it with me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this one is to connect with your LLM. Okay. This one is for your prompts. And we are going to use prompt templates. And this is for your parsing your output. Okay, as we said, we are going to use str output parser. Okay, so this will make your call to OpenAI. This will give you options for creating your prompt template. This is going to help you parse your output, whatever you get back from OpenAI in a certain format. Okay. Right. This we have been using from so long, so I'm pretty sure all of you are already aware of. Now let's move to the part which is going to be different. Okay. So if you remember in OpenAI SDK calls, we used to first invoke with a client, right? Here you just have to define your parameters first. And then your model. Again, we will use a smaller model, GPT 4o mini, and you can define your temperature. Let's take 0 for deterministic answers. Okay. All right. So next is your prompt template. This will help us define our template. So what we'll do is we'll give our prompt, but it should be having some variable input options. Okay. Uh, and then whatever topic you want. Okay. All right. Now, because this is we are going to make a call, we also need to have something to be able to get that call or get that output. So we are going to use our str output parser. Okay. This is all the setup you need. Then you can create your first chain. Okay. So that is pipe symbol. Okay. Then your model, then pipe symbol, your parser. Okay. So again, chain works from left to right. So for this first, it's going to pick your prompt. Then it is going to look at your model. So that you are going to use, if you're using ChatGPT 4 mini, okay, then it is going to check your output parser. Okay. So which we also have built. And then we are going to run that flow. To run it, that's why I'm using more this word invoke again and again in this class, because we use specific word called invoke with chain that is going to invoke it, and whatever variables we are going to put in there are used here in your prompt. Okay. So let's take an example. Okay. So invoke and then your key value pair. So what is your key? Topic. All right. Or just to be double safe, use the same. Okay. And then your uh, whatever topic we want to take. So let's take IPL.
Yes.
Okay. By the way, yesterday Weber Suryavanshi played a very good inning, right? And I think one more strange thing was I think 264 score was changed, right? For the first time, I think in T20. I don't know
Yes,
how
yes.
many of you follow cricket.
Yeah, he made century in 36 balls, but
Oh,
I don't know about the result. Who won?
okay. All right. So see, this is going to give you the result, right? Now this is reusable. So if you want, in the next call, you can take some other topic. Obviously, there are ways that you can loop through it, give multiple topics in one go, or if you just want to update the topic from IPL, let's take to FIFA, or maybe not sports, right? Something else. Mm, nah, but it won't be trained on Dhurandhar, right? Data would be very old. Let's take eyes. Okay, something different. All right, let's try to run it. So the Indian Premier League is known for its high octane matches and star-studded lineups. Okay. The next one is one cool fact about eyes is that they can distinguish approximately 10 million different colors and blah blah blah. Okay. So this way the reusing part becomes much simpler for us. Okay. And for invoking, you just need to do chain.invoke. And for creating a chain, just know, you have to move from left to right. So that should be your execution flow, whatever you define. All right. Okay. So now we build this, but there are a few more things that we were doing, right? One of them was, which roles we worked with? Do you remember?
System user assistant.
Assist teacher.
Okay. So all three we worked with, and but most of the time we working with system and user, right? And whenever we want to give history, we use assistant as well. Am I right or wrong? Other than history, is there any other need for assistant role? Come on, guys.
Not sure, sir.
Assistant was again we are using to give it history or the previous calls that we have made, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, are you, just confirm you're still able to see my screen?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
we are.
yes.
Okay, all right. So we are going to make or give options for different roles now. Just remind me, what is this symbol indicates?
List.
The square brackets list, right? Okay, cool. So we are going to work with a list now, and within list we can have different values for different indexes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right, but let's see, do you catch the difference here? Okay, so first is system, then whatever is system prompt we want to give. Okay, say, sorry, you are a Indian street food vendor. Okay, answers in one line only. All right. Next, user. Now, you remember we used to use user specifically, right? Here, let me use human. Okay. Human seems more, intuitive, right? Instead of user. So this makes it very clear that system prompt is just for system and human prompt would be for the actual input that would be coming from a human, right? Now, whatever, say any dish that we want to work with. So this will be our variable. Okay. So tell me this. This is a prompt, okay?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
right now, within a list, right? What is this? Because list, you define things by something, then comma something else, right? Here you are defining it like this, comma this, and this is not a what's called dictionary. So this is not key value.
Table.
Uh, Version, I think your voice is really breaking. I'm not
Tuple.
able to.
Tuple.
Tuple. Okay. So this is your homework. Okay. Read about why, how we are doing it for all of you. Okay. This is just so that you keep remembering the base topics that we had, right? So what is list, what is tuple, what is dictionary, and when we are using something, because these are the foundations that we are going to keep using with different things, right? So this is the part which we have to learn about or read about. Okay, just that part. Okay, so we gave our system prompt, we gave our human prompt. Okay, so now next would be our chain. So let's give it a name of food chain. Okay, so first would be our food prompt. Okay, what should be next?
Model.
Okay, what should be next?
Parser.
Okay, all right, so let's now start printing. Okay, output of street vendor. Okay, I think we can take it in new line. Okay, then we can do our chain. Is it input schema, invoke, or what? Food chain
Invoke.
Invoke.
dot
In
invoke.
Invoke.
yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, and then we have to give a pair of key value. What would be my key here? Just look at your
Fish.
prompt.
Your
It should
topic.
be dish. Okay,
Yes.
cool. Okay, give me any value that you feel from dish perspective would be a good one.
Biryani.
Biryani. Okay. Okay. Let's take one more. Okay. From street, because we are calling it street vendor, right? So let's take something which is very
Pani.
street friendly.
Pani puri.
Vada pav. Okay. Yeah, pani puri could also work. Okay. Now let's try to run it. Okay. Pani puri is a popular Indian street food consisting of hollow, crispy puris filled with spicy tamarind water, chickpeas, and potatoes. Okay. Let's give it some characteristics. Okay. It says the only dish that can make you forget your ex and your diet at the same time. The next one is the only time you can eat water and still call it a snack. good ones. Okay. All right. So uh, we were able to, define templates. We were able to pass through it, get our options, right? But one thing we have still not done. What is that?
Memory.
Sorry.
Memory.
Yeah. So, or memory, right? That we have not worked with. So let's see how we can work with memory as well. Okay. So we can specifically use two things from LangChain. Okay. One is messages placeholder. Okay. This is our slot for history. Okay. So wherever or with which what you're going to call it, right? That slot or that amount of memory that you want to give, you're going to use message placeholder for this, right? And next would be your LangChain core dot messages. Now here we can specify, is it a human message, okay, or AI message. So basically it will tell you from typed messages, right, which one is which. And like in month one we were giving roles of user and system, so here we can use human message or AI message for the same, so it can specifically distinguish then, right? And there's no confusion as well. Okay. So let's do this chat prompt. Okay. Template dot messages. Okay. So let's take for system. You uh, tutor size. Okay. Now we are taking messages placeholder. Here we can define our variable. Okay. Name. So it already gives you that option, right? And this variable is your history. Now your human message, and this is your simply your input. Okay, whatever input you're going to get from human, you will get it in this one. And wherever a variable would come, where history is there, you are going to keep the history of the previous one and keep it, it will keep on sending in every next call. Okay. So how does it work? Let's say, okay, so what we have to do now? So earlier we used to from response we used to call it back, and now how we do it? With chain. Okay, so we are going to create a chat chain. Okay, what should be the next thing?
Models.
Model.
Okay, and what should be the next thing?
Parser.
Okay,
Parser.
all right. Now history we are going to get, and we are going to keep it in what?
Assistance.
Messages
So
placeholder.
see, this is just because history when you start with should be Nothing, because in the first call there's no history, right? Your
Yeah.
history will keep on growing. So you give it an empty list, it will keep on appending with the next response that it receives. Okay. So let's go by this. So similar to how we did turns earlier, we'll go turn by turn. Okay. So response. Okay. Okay. Now, so this is our call that we are making. Okay. So you give your input because that input will be fed here. Okay. So you give your input, that is your key, and your value is something that you want it to remember. So let's take Naveen's name. Okay. My name is Naveen. Okay. I am from Chennai. Okay. So this way we can exactly identify, does it remember me or not, right? And lastly, what we can also give, do we want history or do we not want history? Here we do want history, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So what we'll do is we will also ask for history. Okay. Have we taken history anywhere? Yes, we have. So our value for the history would be this one. So this one will be keep updating when you make your next calls. Okay. So history will be your history, and with this it will be able to keep appending that list where your previous input and output are there. Okay. Let's see, does it actually work? So in the first one there's no history, so nothing to for us to remember. This is just the first call. Okay. Now this is just, so I just want it to be easier for us to distinguish, so we know from here it is a new line. Now this is our response. Okay. Let's sorry. Okay. For this one, if you run it now, what will happen? It will just give you whatever is your input, right? It is going to answer based on that. Yes or no? Can
Yeah.
there be history as of now?
No. No.
No.
Uh,
No.
no.
Why not? Because
This is the first.
Input
first
rate.
call, right? So now what we need to do is save this. Okay. So the AI can remember it for the next call. Okay. So what we can do is in the list, as I use the word, what we are going to do, we are going to append it.
Append.
Okay. We are going to append it with what? Human message. All right. As well as AI message. So that's the specific reason we used these. Okay. So human message. Okay. And this is where your content would go. Okay. So if your human message is, something that you want it to remember, you are going to give it. And now you can directly give it from the response itself or you can manually. So here, just for better understanding, okay, content equals to, this is your input. All right. So you can put input. which is, just for less confusion, this is your input. Okay. Now, but in your history, do you know that is it only the user input that is remembered, or the output that you receive that also should be part of context window? What is your context window?
Both user and AI message
Yeah, so that combined is our,
context
yes.
memory.
So whatever response you will get, okay, that will also need to be appended. All right. Now, if we do this, okay, and we take one more turn, which is your turn two. This is the turn where we can, with which we can check, is it retaining our history or not? Okay. Chain. But equals to, now how can I identify that does it remember the first input? Ask something through which we can confirm that does it know or not. Okay. What is my name and my city? Okay. If it's able to give it, that means it would know. Okay.
Right.
Now, because we want history to be there, okay, then your history. Okay. Now, after this, if you're going to make a response or are asking for a response, ideally it should remember, and we can also validate or confirm it. Okay. So let's see. Acha, one more thing, right? Because we have made multiple calls. This is just, something that we discussed earlier. Just want to remind you. Can you see that this is the answer that is generated earlier, and now again it is generating the same answer?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Temperature.
Yes. So temperature's value would be 0. Okay. Just for everyone to remember these important nuggets, right? Okay. So nice to meet you, Naveen. How can I assist you today? And the next one was, what is my name and what is my city? It is able to remember through history. So we don't, now internally, right? It is possible, not actually possible. This is how it would be. The function that for LangChain it would have written, it would be connecting with OpenAI SDK, and it would be using its assistant roles, right, to be able to provide it history. But it does it in more meaningful way for us to be able to understand and utilize. Okay. So this is your first introduction to LangChain. I am going to share with you some code snippets. So this one, and this one. Okay. Try to run them on your own. All right. If you have any questions, do ping or message if you don't understand any part of it. I've made sure that I add a lot of comments there so that it's much easier for you to understand or intuitive. But that doesn't mean that you cannot get confused. So if you get confused at any point, do ping me, message me if you have any question on any of those chats, code snippets. But do go through them, do run them, and for any questions, do connect.